Hey y'all, and welcome to PolitiBrawl. My name is Brian, and Ted Cruz just dresses down Tim Kaine in perhaps the best speech you might ever hear about our endowed rights as people. Let's dive in.
You state, and this is a quote from Secretary Rubio, our rights come from God, our creator, not from our laws, not from our governments. I find that very, very troubling. I'm a devout person. I was a missionary in Honduras. We've got other devout folks in this room, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, American. The notion that rights don't come from laws and don't come from the government, but come from the creator, that's what the Iranian government believes. It's a theocratic regime that bases its rule on Shia law and targets Sunnis, Baha'is, Jews, Christians, and other religious minorities. And they do it because they believe that they understand what natural rights are from their creator. So the statement that our rights do not come from our laws or our governments is extremely troubling. I think the motto over the Supreme Court is equal justice under law. The oath that you and I take, pledge to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, not arbitrarily defined natural rights. I'm a strong believer in natural rights, but I have a feeling if we were to have a debate about natural rights in the room and put people around the table with different religious traditions, there would be some significant differences in the definitions of those natural rights. You go on to say, I believe our country and our government is the best in the world and our strength comes from our enduring values. I believe that. But then you say, and you got to choose what to say in your opening testimony, these values aren't an endless list of, quote, rights. You put the quote around that to kind of demean the notion of rights that people create and change and form to meet their own needs or desires. These values aren't identity politics. They're the historic natural rights that we have as individuals pursuing life, liberty, and happiness in the world. Pursuing life, liberty, and happiness. The State Department's Human Rights Report has just struck out all references to the rights of LGBTQ people in countries and the way countries treat LGBTQ people. I mean, do they have a right to liberty?
Senator Kaine and I were elected together 13 years ago. He is a friend. I would actually encourage observers to go back and listen to what Senator Kaine said, because I have to say I think was disturbing and showed much of where today's Democrat Party has gone wrong. So Senator Kaine said in this hearing that he found it a radical and dangerous notion that you would say our rights came from God and not from government. I just walked into the hearing as he was saying that, and I almost fell out of my chair. Because that radical and dangerous notion, in his words, is literally the founding principle upon which the United States of America was created. And if you do not believe me, and you made reference to this, Mr. Barnes, then you can believe perhaps the most prominent Virginian to ever serve, Thomas Jefferson, who wrote in the Declaration of Independence, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator. Not by government, not by the Democratic National Committee, but by God, with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I have to say it is stunning to me that the principle that God has given us natural rights is now deemed by Democrats some radical and dangerous notion. Mr. Jefferson was right when he wrote those words. Government exists to protect those rights. But slavery was not okay when U.S. law allowed it. It was wrong then, it is wrong now, it is always wrong. I guess I would just ask you, your role is going to be very much a role designed to defend human rights across the globe. Do you agree with what I just said? And what do you think about the concept that the founding principles of America are radical and dangerous? What do you think about that particular notion?
Yeah, Senator, I appreciate the question. And I'll just say, I think one of the ideas behind, we have a new office in DRL, Office of Natural Rights, post the reorganization. I think one of the ideas behind that is you actually have the most consensus behind these natural rights than the kind of, maybe hot button issues of the day. And so we should champion those. As Senator Kaine mentioned, all are created equal. We agree with that. That's in the Declaration of Independence, as is endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights.
Thank you.
Because the Democrats believe they're the party of the little guy. They're the party of protecting people's rights. They went over the bounds of the right to pursue happiness and over-pursued an ideology that on paper is supposed to help you, is supposed to help people. At a certain point, you wind up ultimately going too far in your own ideology. The logical conclusions of ideology almost always end in disaster. You've got to have some moderating factor. This is why when the founders created our nation, they wanted our rights found in something so abstract as the idea of God. And I brought this up before, but there are three great studies in life. Science, which asks what is true. Theology, what is God, or what is at least holier than yourself. And then, or at least what do you hold higher than yourself. And then you have the idea of philosophy, what is true. In these great studies, the Democrats have seemed to throw out the very ideas of science, saying what is true, and instead replaced it with the idea of what feels good. And therefore, when you replace that part of science, your philosophy then becomes corrupted, as well as your concept of theology. Check this story out. A new discovery found a massive trove of gold-minted coins in the Czech Republic, minted by a long-lost civilization, over 2,000 years ago in the 2nd century BC. They also found silver coins among the artifacts. I mean, the proof is there. Not only have gold and silver coins been valuable for thousands of years, but they can physically last that long too. Just another reason why I am partnered with the amazing award-winning company Goldco. They sell gold and silver coins and doing a pretty amazing job with it. So if you are ready to learn how Goldco can help protect your savings with gold and silver, I want you to go to PolitiBrawlGold.com. You can get a free 2025 gold and silver kit. Plus, learn how you can get up to 10% in free silver. It's the best offer out there. So don't miss this one. Go to PolitiBrawlGold.com. Senator Kaine, which he seems to me like a reasonable working Democrat. They're becoming rarer and rarer. Fetterman and even Georgian Lucy McBath. Those folks are workable people. They care about legislation. They care about truth. They care about reality. But there's a fundamental flaw with Tim Kaine that separates him from some of the more workable people. He has bought into the idea not only of the progressive mindset that we can bureaucratize everything, but he's bought into the idea that feelings matter more. Okay? Trying to keep a society together, it's all going to work out in the end. This very boomer 1960-esque ideal that, yeah, we just need to have chill vibes and everything will work out fine. That's great until you realize that there are people that want to use that same ideology to rip out the very heart and soul of this country, our pioneer spirit. Our disagreeableness, even to some extent, and of course our more inquisitive nature. Americans are curious people, but we're also a people that wants to be left alone. And so when you buy into the idea of having a more encroaching state, like progressives do, like people like Tim Kaine do, and you buy into the idea that truth is more abstract, we can go postmodern on this, we'll be fine. And meanwhile, Ted Cruz is saying, we have guardrails and guidelines in there not because we want to keep people down, but because we want to protect our society. I think we need a slightly different way of looking at things. I think socially it's more pyramidic and we have to be careful when we have a pyramidal structure with the family sort of being the centerpiece and then everything else serving the family. That's sort of my mindset in a nutshell. And that's very Christian-esque, but it's not totally Christian. But the reason I'm getting into worldview and into religion is because this is the fundamental divide that is ripping our country to shreds. And the left is at the forefront of this battle, and the right is slowly rising up to meet it. We're starting to find our feet again, and we're really pushing back. This is more than just saying that, hey, Cracker Barrel, bring your logo back. This is about the idea that, no, we don't believe that our society deserves to crumble and be ripped out and hollowed out. We have ideals that are wonderful, that have made us into the greatest nation on earth. And it's not because of our geography. It is not just because of our culture. It is certainly not a racial composure. We have, and by the way, I'll end on this note. It's funny that Tim Kaine brings up Iran, which is a despotic nightmare of a regime. And they're like that because Persia keeps on producing. That region of the world keeps producing these sort of despotic nightmares because of its geography. And yet the United States is different. We have even more of a diverse culture than Iran. It's more diverse than Russia. And those two places I just mentioned are insanely diverse. We are anomalies on the world stage. And yet we made one of the greatest countries on earth. Perhaps our founders were onto something. Perhaps the way our country was made is the right way to do it and the right way to go forward. And the Democrats have forgotten this because they've seen the fruits of that labor. They have not seen the failures of places like Iran, places like Russia, even places like China. And I fear of falling into that into that chasm. I fear the cataclysm that might come once we finally take the guardrails off. So, again, I got off into some esoteric weeds, and I do apologize for that. But that's what this video is about. That's what Ted Cruz has brought together. And by the way, that might be the best speech I've ever seen a senator give at a committee meeting. And Tim Kaine, I hope he realizes his error before it's too late. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. My name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on PolitiBrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Until then, y'all have a good one.